At last, mankind have returned.
They're uglier than I remember.
Our mission is to find and return the princess.
It's been more than a decade since Jack the Giant Slayer hit theaters in 2013, and for a lot of people, it's a movie that kind of flew under the radar. But lately, it's finding new life on streaming, climbing Netflix charts and making people wonder if a sequel could actually happen. The timing is curious, because even though the original movie didn't exactly set the box office on fire, its resurgence online is giving fans a fresh reason to revisit the fantasy world of giants and medieval heroics. So naturally, speculation about a Jack the Giant Slayer 2 is already bubbling up. At the center of the original movie was Euan McGregor, who played the heroic Elmont. Most audiences today probably know McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi from the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and he even returned to the character for a Disney Plus series in 2022. But the Scottish actor has a ton of other fantasy and live-action credentials too. He led the heartfelt story of Christopher Robin in 2018 and brought Lumiere to life in the live-action Beauty and the Beast back in 2017. Outside of the fantasy genre, McGregor has proven his versatility with films like Moulin Rouge, Birds of Prey, and Dr. Sleep. He's even had a notable small-screen presence, playing dual roles in Fargo Season 3, which earned him a Golden Globe for Best Lead Actor in a Limited Series or Motion Picture Made for Television. But back to Jack the Giant Slayer, McGregor's character Elmont is the celebrated warrior defending the kingdom of Cloister from giants. The story revolves around Jack, played by Nicholas Hoult, a young peasant who becomes a reluctant hero after Princess Isabel, played by Eleanor Tomlinson, is kidnapped by giants. The film also features an all-star supporting cast, including Stanley Tucci, Ian McShane, and Bill Nighy, who lent his voice to General Fallon, the leader of the giants. While the movie didn't exactly wow critics on release, it had some charm and adventure, even though the story felt a bit formulaic for some viewers. Now, Netflix has essentially given the film a second chance. As of early April, Jack the Giant Slayer climbed to number 7 on Netflix's US Top 10 list, putting it ahead of titles like Sicario: Day of the Soldado and Den of Thieves 2: Pantera. Considering it was a $197 million box office disappointment at the time, it's wild to see it getting this kind of attention more than a decade later. This revival has naturally sparked conversations about a potential sequel, especially because streaming success can sometimes lead studios to revisit older properties. One of the biggest reasons the movie still resonates is the cast. Even though the plot and special effects were criticized, Euan McGregor and Nicholas Hoult delivered performances that left an impression. Hoult, in particular, is having a major career moment right now. After a string of critically praised projects, he's set to portray Lex Luthor in the upcoming Superman film, and that renewed visibility may be driving some of the interest in revisiting his earlier roles. People love going back to see where stars like Hoult and McGregor were in their careers, which is probably why Jack the Giant Slayer is climbing Netflix charts. Interestingly, the film is also getting retroactive praise for its visual effects. Corridor Crew, a popular VFX-focused YouTube channel, recently broke down the film and highlighted just how well the giants were brought to life. They pointed out that while the monsters sometimes moved slower, they could suddenly move incredibly fast, which made them even more terrifying and engaging for viewers. The texture work on the giants' hands and knees was also noted for its level of detail, which makes scenes more immersive than critics originally gave the movie credit for. One commentator even mentioned that seeing 65 giants moving quickly was so sick, and suggested that more fast-moving giants would be amazing in any potential sequel. Of course, not everyone was sold on the movie when it first came out. Critics gave it a 52% tomato meter score and a 55% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, often calling out the over-reliance on CGI and a story that felt forgettable despite the strong performances. The darker, more classic Jack and the Beanstalk elements didn't help enough to win over skeptics. Still, the resurgence on Netflix is proving that audiences may now have a different perspective, appreciating elements that were overlooked in 2013. So, what could a sequel even look like? A lot of fans are imagining Jack the Giant Slayer 2 as a story that expands the world rather than retelling the original plot. One idea could be to explore the kingdom beyond Cloister, showing new lands or other kingdoms also threatened by giants. Alternatively, the giants themselves could evolve in scale or cunning. The Corridor Crew video about fast-moving giants could actually inspire filmmakers to make the sequel more intense and suspenseful, giving audiences thrills that the first movie hinted at but didn't fully explore. There's also a chance to delve deeper into Jack's character, maybe even showing him taking on a mentorship role to a new generation of heroes. And with Nicholas Hoult now playing Lex Luthor in the DCU, his star power has only grown, potentially making a sequel more commercially viable. Of course, any continuation would likely bring McGregor back as Elmont, whose character could be facing new challenges. After all, the first movie painted him as a celebrated warrior, but the fallout from the giant battles wasn't fully explored. A sequel could dig into the political aftermath of the giant threat, explore Elmont's internal conflicts, or even introduce moral dilemmas where the humans and giants must coexist in unexpected ways. Bringing in new characters or giving Princess Isabel a more active role could also freshen up the dynamic and make the story feel more modern. One thing that might help a sequel succeed is leaning into practical effects along with CGI. While critics originally felt the visual effects were overused, modern VFX technology combined with practical stunts could create a more grounded and thrilling fantasy experience. And considering how much the original movie is gaining appreciation for its visual work, the filmmakers could take this feedback to heart and elevate the spectacle in a way that feels even more immersive than before. It's also worth noting that the original cast's careers have continued to thrive despite the movie's box office performance. Holt stayed in the Marvel Universe for multiple X-Men films. McGregor returned triumphantly as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Ian McShane became a fan favorite in the John Wick films, and Bill Nighy even earned an Academy Award nomination for Living. This means that, practically speaking, getting the core cast back together for a sequel isn't just feasible, it could also be a major selling point for audiences who have grown more attached to these actors over the years. Ultimately, the Netflix resurgence is proof that some stories find their audience later rather than sooner. It's a reminder that even films that underperform initially can gain momentum with a fresh wave of viewers, especially if they feature a strong cast and imaginative world building. And with streaming numbers climbing, the argument for a sequel is stronger than it has ever been. Fans may be ready to return to the Kingdom of Cloister, confront terrifying giants, and follow Jack and Elmont on new adventures that explore stakes, action, and fantasy storytelling in exciting ways. In the end, whether Jack the Giant Slayer 2 actually happens will depend on a mix of factors: streaming popularity, cast availability, and studio willingness to invest in a world that already has a lot of built-in nostalgia. But looking at the current trends, it's not hard to imagine a story that revisits the original adventure while expanding its scope, introducing new threats, and giving both Jack and Elmont more room to grow as characters. If done right, the sequel could finally give the franchise the recognition it missed out on 12 years ago while satisfying longtime fans and capturing new viewers at the same time. So, while nothing has been officially announced, the idea of Jack the Giant Slayer 2 is more plausible now than ever. With a strong cast, improved technology, and newfound appreciation from audiences, a follow-up could turn this once-overlooked fantasy into a fresh hit. And if the giants are faster, scarier, and more dangerous than ever, the next adventure could truly live up to the name Giant Slayer. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay in the loop. And if you want, you can share your thoughts about this video in the comments section down below.